How you doing, George?
Fantastic. How are you?
Yeah, I was just getting myself ready before we was doing this. Had the weirdest sense of deja vu. It's almost like we've done this before.
Yeah, like in the last 24 hours, man.
That's right, everyone. It's because it's the second episode of the Poproast podcast, not because we already did stuff and had technical difficulties. This is the fresh, most off the dome content that you're ever going to get on the internet.
That's right. Also, the most low production value podcast you're going to find on the internet too. So enjoy.
Low production, high maintenance. That's how we like. That's how we like to keep ourselves balanced around these parts. Speaking of balance, George, I did find a skate park 20 minutes near my fucking house. I've been living here for like 2 years, man. I've been here for like 2 years and I had no idea it was there. Just like have a little wander up the road, tucked behind a supermarket. Oh, hello. And it's empty 24/7. 15-year-old cream dream.
Yeah,
so that's been my week. So my knees are hurting. That's why you can't see me from the torso down there, because it's a mess, guys. It's not looking good. I'm telling you. My cartilage. Yeah. Love is pain, and skateboarding is love, because if you don't love it, why do you put yourself through it? So how's your week been?
Very much the same. I'm in a lot of pain too from various activities. Last weekend our local skate park just reopened. It's been revamped.
Grand reopening.
Yep. And it is a vast improvement on the terrible monstrosity that was before. But also I went and played airsoft at the weekend, which was, if you're not familiar, it's just paint. Yeah, it's BB guns for adults, paintball without the paint.
Getting shot for fun in this climate. What can you tell you?
I can tell you that all that crouching and all that running around, shitting yourself.
Clenching, crouching and clenching. That's what he's been doing. Fucking solid snake. Anyway.
That's about it.
Because you got to keep active, everyone. You can't just hit your 30s, have a midlife crisis and start a podcast. You've got to get out there into the real world. You know who else is trying to get out there in the real world? Is a young man called Dracula. There it is. Last Voyage of the Demeter. Not only is he trying to get out in the world on a boat, but also he's getting out in the world in a new movie, but only in some countries. Some bullshit going on with distribution companies getting bought and sold. So we don't know when we're going to get it. We wanted to talk about this for you. What I did, I think George was half reluctant to see this movie, but we were going to take it, because weirdly they taken just one scene from the book or the movie, whichever one you like, the traditional version of the storyline, and they've expanded that into a whole movie. I even saw that they're selling a novelization of this thing, and it's literally just the one chapter from the Bram Stoker book. So that's kind of like everything wrong with capitalism, really. But at the same time, I'm hearing wildly mixed things about this, so I'm starting to feel like I want to see it. Is it turning your tide in your favour there, George?
Sounds to me like a steaming pile of shit. Sorry, that was one of the terrible puns I saw in relation in a review heading. But I don't know. Bat on a boat.
On a boat. Dracula. He's Bacula.
Yeah. And I did watch the trailer, and I thought it looks interesting what they've done with the half bat, half humanoids version of.
Yeah, I think they said like the intention was to make him more like a creature, like a predatory creature, than like just like a dude in a nice coat or whatever. So I know that's going to upset some people who like the smooth, suave kind of traditional thing, but they're already doing a part of another story. You might as well change some of the elements, I guess. So I guess that's how they felt. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just buried the lead a bit there. They've shown maybe a bit too much of the creature of Dracula, but I don't know. I'll check it out. It's on streaming because it's not going to be screening anywhere near us.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if we get this one to talk about. And by the time it's out on streaming, is anyone really going to be talking about Dracula being Dracula anymore? I don't know. You know, maybe we'll discuss it at the end of another episode if one of us catches it.
Sure.
And we'll throw in a quick little belated review for your viewing pleasure, as it were. So we're gonna stick with some horror topics. There's a lot of horror stuff going on at the moment. I'm guessing because all the blockbusters are being pushed back because of strikes and this, that, and the other. We got this. It Lives Inside. Here's another one of these movies that I've yet to watch a trailer for. Maybe I just won't watch these trailers so I can have my mind blown a little bit more. But you did watch this. What's this looking like, George?
Looks interesting. It's funny you say that because I'm wasn't normally one to watch trailers. If there's anything I heard about that's piqued my interest, I'd wait and try and avoid anything. But I did watch the trailer, and it looks interesting. I'll read you the synopsis. Desperate to fit in at school, Sam rejects her East Indian culture and family to be like everyone else. However, when a mythological demonic spirit latches onto her former best friend, she must come to terms with her heritage to defeat it. So you've got, this, East Indian Hindu, I'm guessing, mythology, which comes into play, which is something new. I haven't seen much. I get that was the complete opposite with this trailer. You didn't really see anything of this demon or this demonic spirit.
Right.
So I don't know. It looks.
I mean, maybe it's yeah. Like maybe it's a case of like if you know the mythology of the culture and stuff, then maybe you've got more of like an idea of what's coming or whatever. I don't know because we don't know because we're ignorant. Everyone, we just don't know. We love everyone. We swear we're just not the experts. What we like is some supernatural shit. We like some nasty looking shit, and apparently this is going to be different because, like I say, it's exploring a different culture. We've had Japanese stuff and like European stuff with like troll hunters and all this kind of crap. So it's nice to get a different flavor in in any kind of genre movie, really. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, even though I didn't watch the trailer. Even though I had 2 chances to watch this trailer and I still didn't watch this trailer. Maybe I'll like it twice as much.
Or maybe don't then, yeah.
Maybe don't. Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, Sorry. I was just going to say it's written directed by Vishal Dutta. I'm probably butchered that pronunciation, but it's already won an award at the Midnight Audience Award at South by Southwest.
Good stuff.
So, yeah, doesn't always mean much, but
Yeah, this could be a little, a bit of a sleeper hit. This could be a nice little surprise for a lot of people. I don't know what the anticipation level is like in the general kind of zeitgeist, really, but there wasn't a massive amount of people talking about our next movie that we're going to mention here, which is Talk to Me, and that turned out to be apparently quite a bit of a sleeper hit itself.
Yeah, apparently.
They announced the sequel for it, and I thought it must have made a shitload of money. I look up the box office. It's like 26 million. Is that it? Is that all you got? But then I saw that this movie actually cost 4 million to make, so that's like 5 times its budget in production. Into box office. So that's a real good result. So you could definitely see why they would want to make another one of these. And you saw this, George. So how are you feeling about Talk to Me 2?
They definitely left it open for a sequel. Or I'm pretty sure I saw an interview with the Filippo brothers, and they said they'd be interested. That it could even be a prequel because you got the the spirit hand thing. You get some information on where it came from, but not really much on the origins of it. I could see him possibly doing something like that, but the ending left it open for a sequel as well. So
yeah. I actually read somewhere the other day that they apparently they shot a whole load of stuff for this movie that's like, you know, a prologue to what you see in the movie, so that could act as like prequel material or flashback material for the sequel, whatever they're going to do. So it definitely sounds like, even though this is a tiny movie, there are like notions of franchise potential here, but not in a way where it was like, you know, that was the only purpose, which you see with a lot of these kind of movies, is they're more concerned about making 3, 4, and 5 before they've made a good story for the first one. Not naming any names, or anyway. So yeah, no, I'm definitely. I still haven't seen this one yet. Heard from you and most other people that I've heard from who are talking about movies. Sounds like it's pretty good, and you know, it's going to be going on for a while. Is this the kind of movie though, George, where it's talk to me with a 2 for the 2? Because you know they want to do it. You know they're thinking about it.
I can see it. Yeah,
talk to me.
Just see the
big old 2 in the middle there. You know, like 7 or Too Fast, Too Furious,
or the Scream,
or the numerous ways that you can work in a 5, a 6, or a 7 into the word Scream, which you know they still keep managing to do that. So hats off, I guess. Speaking of hats off, that's not a transition, but I tell you what, I will give hats off if they manage to pull this next movie off. Okay, we're getting a remake of the Toxic Avenger, classic late 80s trauma movie, Toxic Avenger. We finally, this was announced a couple of years ago, maybe even longer than that, because I think they shot this thing in 2021, and then kind of nothing since it was announced, really. And then we got a teaser image dropped and a first poster. You got it there, which isn't what I was expecting from the poster. I love the design. I think it's cool. I'd like to see more kind of, you know, minimalist kind of Mondo style posters like that from more mainstream movies. But that's the problem though. Can you do a mainstream version of this?
I don't know. Like, I think we spoke about this before. Like, I don't think anyone's remade a trauma film.
No, maybe I don't think so.
But I can see Luke Hoffman doing something. I don't know, actually. Maybe he wouldn't, because he's always about, you know, these conglomerates and, you know, shit talking the industry or Hollywood, which is, you know, fair to it.
I'm surprised he gave up the rights for this, to be honest. I'm surprised he's letting anyone touch it, because this is pretty much like their flagship title, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, but I don't know. Look at that teaser image.
Yeah, is the mob he's glowing? Is he going to be firing like radioactive lasers from his fucking Green Lantern mop? All this kind of thing, because the tone of the original, like all of the trauma movies, is so out there. Like, you've literally got these like full-grown adults like giggling like schoolgirls as they run kids over. You know, full-on gore shots of heads exploding and just everything that you can push to like the absolute furthest you can. They do it in that movie, you know, which is Trauma's thing, and that's fine. But then I think of something like RoboCop or a Total Recall, which I was trying to think, and it's like that's the closest like example I can think of where it's like quite a heightened tone and over the top, and then they've just completely stripped away, you know, any of the meat to it with the remakes. You just completely sanitized it. So I'm kind of worried, but I'm really fucking intrigued to see what they do with this. Peter Dinklage is in this, you know, which some might call an unconventional choice for the main character. I don't know why. If you think he's different in any way, that's on you. You know, you've got Elijah Wood, Jacob Tremblay has his son, and then Kevin Bacon is in this. So you're going to assume that Kevin Bacon is playing the villain. It seems like they've changed up the story quite a bit. I've got a plot synopsis here. So Peter Dinklage stars as downtrodden janitor Winston Goose. That's Gooze. Goose. Who, after falling into a vat of toxic waste, becomes none other than the toxic Avenger. This timely reimagining, George, is up to its eyeballs in environmental themes as Winston goes up against the evil forces of greed and corruption to save his son, his friends, and his community. So the bones are there, but this is definitely a superhero uppy of the origin story, you know, as opposed to just like he was trying to perv on some girl in a locker room and then he falls out a window, and that's pretty much, you know, cut and dry as is. So we're definitely heroing this up a little bit. You nervous?
Kinda.
Mm.
I'm wondering though, is he gonna start out as I don't want to say normal, a conventionally proportioned
Yeah, right.
person, and then convert to
he gets shrunk by the waste, or maybe the waste makes him grow. I don't know. Is that because you kind of assume that you cast Dinklage and there's going to be that kind of angle to it, but then also maybe it would be pretty cool to just, you know, cast Dinklage and not have that as an angle. You know, that would be kind of refreshing, right? Because you haven't always just got to, you know, focus on, you know, he's just a person, you know, and he's, you know, he's going to have a life and a personality outside of his height. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to come into play, but you kind of feel like it's gonna.
I could see Troma doing that, you know.
I could definitely see Troma doing
that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested, slightly worried, concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you do? It's been made, right? It's already been shot.
We're getting it, like it or not. What kind of it's going to be a hard R from what I'm hearing, so that's still intact. It's going to be nowhere near the hard R of what the original is. It's going to, you know, it's still not going to be. I don't care how hard R it is. There's no way. Like I said, some of that stuff you just wouldn't make now.
Nah.
So, good luck to it's directed by Macon Blair.
Macon Blair, I believe.
Macon Blair.
And
got there.
That did actually, you know, gives me a bit of hope as well, because he's done some bangers. Green Room is fucking awesome. Blue Ruin also awesome.
Yeah, man.
Party. I haven't actually seen that. I think that's his first feature of
yeah.
Correct.
I've seen Green Room and I love some Green Room. You know, that's a tough watch, but it's good.
That hit me out of nowhere. I didn't. All I heard was it was about, you know, a hardcore punk band, and yeah, some shit goes down, and it certainly does. Yeah.
Yeah, so, it's not like it's not a splashy horror movie. It's more like just like a gritty thriller than anything.
Yeah, some just amazing like cinematography in that as well, and just suspense. Like the suspense.
Yeah, but not a lot of humor, which is kind of what worries me. As good as his movies are, not known for his laughs.
It's quite a dark sense of humor to it. It's not like outright comedic. That's another one. I don't feel at home in this world anymore. Is another one.
Yes, I've heard of this, but I have no idea what it is. But I've heard it's good. That's all I know.
Yeah. So I don't know too much. I sort of know roughly. It's like a downtrodden, like Elijah Wood and a female friend. They make friends, and then they have some confrontations, and from what I understand, there is again a lot of dark humor in that and violence. But I don't know. Yeah,
and I guess he's friends with Elijah Wood, who I really like, and I would like to see him in more stuff. So I'm down for that part of it.
Yeah, I mean his production company, they produced a lot of great stuff.
Elijah Wood gives me hope, you know, because I think he's, especially since like his post Lord of the Rings days, he hasn't done much, but he always picks really good scripts. You know, I think he never does anything like expected and just, shit.
No.
It's always interesting stuff. You know, whether it be like that teacher, is it Cooties with the teachers, the horror movie?
I haven't actually seen that one. But have you seen the Maniac? Maniac.
I haven't
remake?
seen that, but it's on my list. It's high up on the list for me to watch that. So
that surprised me
maybe
because I really liked the original, and then I heard he was cast as, you know, the Maniac, the Joe Spinell character,
the titular maniac, as it were.
But no, it does well. It's one of the better horror remakes, I'd have to say. But
I might check that out this weekend, and you know, maybe we'll mention that at some point down the line.
Yeah.
Who knows? What we got next? So, last piece of horror movie news here. Like I said, it's a horror heavy episode. It's not even Halloween. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna top this? I'll tell you how you top this. You top it with one of the granddaddies of horror icons, and that's Freddy Krueger himself. Nightmare on Elm Street is apparently being lined up for a new outing. It's been a while since we've seen this guy, you know, in any like on-screen media really. Since the I think 2011 was the last remake. Maybe earlier, 2009.
I think.
Freddy's always been one of my favourites. I've been wondering why they haven't been doing anything with this property. I know that it's one of those ones where, you know, a lot of fans can get quite precious about it, and you probably don't want to, you know. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they're holding back, or they have held back, because they you know, they don't just want to put anything out there, because, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street does have that reputation for like the kind of, you know, dropping quality of sequels. Even though I love them, I think it's a more consistent franchise than Friday the 13th or Halloween, in my opinion. But I know most people would disagree with that. How are you feeling? Freddy's coming back, George.
Yeah, I'm interested. I heard that it's New Line Cinema has attained the rights back. So yeah, I don't know too much about it. There's not been
a lot, no,
out there information wise, like, but they're speculating like 2024, possibly 2025.
Do you think this is going to be just full on reboot? Do we entertain Robert Englund? Are we going to move on to a different actor? What angle would you like?
I don't know.
You think he's got one more left in him?
I feel like he could have. I mean, with fucking like CGI nowadays, visual effects, they could easily, you know, take his likeness and move on.
Wouldn't even be like, you could do it without makeup. You could just put like a motion capture thing on Robert Englund's face, and then just CGI the scars and all the gnarly shit. So it doesn't even necessarily matter that he's old. I think a lot of people would be happy to see him back, but also I could see the argument of, if you want to make like a new franchise out of this, that maybe you do want to bring somebody else in and kind of just rip that band-aid off now. I don't know. And whoever you cast, it's a tall order.
Yeah, I heard some speculation and some people putting some names out there. I don't know if you heard this. Kevin Bacon?
I've not heard this. I mean, the Hollow Man himself, Kevin Bacon, two legendary horror icons, you know, two of the best, you know. There's only two, as far as I'm concerned, there's two horror icons, and that's Freddy Krueger, and then there's Kevin Bacon as the Hollow Man right up here at the top. Obviously, I kid. I didn't hate that movie, actually. I thought it was fine. I think it was kind of like, I think the hate for that movie kind of was more of like a meme before memes. You know, it's almost like a Nickelback kind of situation, where one day somebody just woke up and decided that's a movie we're going to make fun of for the rest of the time for no reason.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I didn't hate the other Nightmare on Elm Street movie that they did. I thought Jackie Earle Haley was a pretty cool choice. He totally follows me on Twitter, by the way.
Oh,
And
really? Wow.
no, he was one of the first people to ever follow me on Twitter. I think he must have did it by accident. I have no idea how that happened. Every now and then I come on there and I do check to see if he still follows me. Of course he does. Even more unlikely than him clicking on my name is
he
him
tweet
going
often?
back on there. Pardon?
Does he tweet often? Is he active on there?
No, not really. Like I say, he must have just his finger slipped, I reckon. But I don't know how that happened. Anyway, I digress. I liked his version. The movie had some cool ideas, but was a little bit, underwhelming to say the least. It didn't really have any bite to it. I wouldn't even hate if they brought him back and gave him another shot, but they probably won't do that. I'd say England was more likely, but who knows? Possibilities. What if we had ideas for maybe what you might do, what you should do, what you could do in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie? So I think we both had a little think about this, and yeah, we like to do this from time to time. We like to, even when we're just talking without you guys here peeping in, and we like to think, what would be a cool premise? What would be a cool synopsis for some other podcast to read about a movie, And I had a little think. I don't even think you call it Nightmare on Elm Street. I think you do what I think you call this movie a little something called Western Hills. Okay? If you eagle-eyed, eagle-eared Elm Street fans will know Western Hills is the psychiatric hospital from Dream Warriors.
Straight over my head.
And also it also appears in Freddy vs. Jason as well, quite prominently. And I think maybe one or two of the other. Anyway, you don't even market this film as an Elm Street film. You call it Western Hills, and you just, it's just some new weird horror movie that's coming out. Some people will pick up on the reference, and there'll be rumblings and rumors. But you basically do what M. Night Shyamalan did with Split, right? So you're going into a movie, you've got no idea it's connected to something. It's just a bunch of kids, with their own, traumas and issues. They're all in this place together. They're all, they're all having nightmares, or like they've all got, these various mental health things. Is it real? Are they lying? We get to learn to love these characters and empathize with these characters, and then 40, 50, 60 minutes into the movie, you realize what's really going on. These kids aren't crazy. They're being hunted by Freddy Krueger. That's how I think you handle this. And I know a lot of people would say that, like, you want to market it off the name of, like, Elm Street because it's a big franchise name.
Yeah.
But as we've seen in recent, especially this year, franchise names don't mean shit like they used to. You're just as likely to be a big hit if you were Talk to Me than if you're an Indiana Jones or something like that. People don't really care so much about IP anymore. I think that's kind of starting to wear off a little bit, and people just want new and interesting things. I think if you announce an Elm Street reboot, I think a lot of people would groan and say it's been done to death, and do we need that? Look what kind of happened with Halloween. That didn't really satisfy a lot of people. So you get those expectations low. Western Hills, drop that surprise during the movie. Oh shit, this is an Elm Street film. Boom, there you go. That's my take.
Fair dues. That's a good one, and I can't believe I've never really picked up on the name of that institution, I guess.
Yeah, it's not like something that they like focus on. It's not like in a Batman movie where every time you go past, it's like Arkham Asylum and it's the lightning. Do you know what I mean? So you're forgiven. But what you got?
I've got a pitch for what you could not do with a Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, he's flipped the script. He's flipped the script.
Yeah. I didn't really go too far with it. For some reason, like I just tried to think of Freddy in the modern age and social media, and just like a kid in a dream, and then like they're looking on TikTok, and all of a sudden Freddy's, in the TikTok. I didn't think too much into it really. It was just like dream stream, Nightmare on Elm Street, dream stream, where
I mean, if he could, Freddy Krueger would totally have a TikTok and a Twitter if he could exist fully in the real world. You know he would. You've got to lure those teenagers in somehow.
For sure. But yeah, I don't know. He could have like, what's his name? Kincaid's cousin or distant relative. He's got a friend who's a narcoleptic influencer. And but luckily, Kincaid Jr. is he's fond of the old, so he doesn't dream. He smokes that much. He does not dream. So
life hack, everybody.
That's it.
Drugs work.
Having nightmares. Smoke more. No, sorry. We don't condone that behaviour.
We definitely don't. But I've not been murdered by Freddy in my 34 years of life, so that's all I'm gonna say. I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you could do all sorts with that. You could have some kids like lucid dreamers that can control their dreams, and have a little like dream. I just thought of Dream Warriors 2, basically, where all the kids like team up, and you have like one of them that's experienced a lucid dreamer, and then he teaches the rest of them, like when they all do that, get in the dream together to like try and fight. Really, that is like one of my favorite lines.
Where you hiding at, you burnt face pussy? Kruger, pussy!
I love that shit.
Man, that's what you get with Freddy. You get good one-liners. You don't really get those in any of. I mean, it's Freddy and Chucky. Everyone else is just kind of, lacking personality. But what you're making me worried about, George, is they're going to do the thing where we're not going to get teenagers. We're going to get young kids. We're going to get that Stranger Things. That's what they're going to want to go for, right? Or maybe, and then you can have one of the kids can have an older brother who's a stoner kid who's not having the dream. So he's like, all of a sudden, like the clown of the family becomes, like the one who's like the safe, protected one. You've got, what's the kid's name? Or, where you've got Will in Stranger Things with the older brother and all that kind of stuff. I could very easily see them going that route with this, which may not be what we want. I'd go the other way. Let's terrorize the adults. Maybe Freddy wants to go after the adults that, because he goes after the kids of the people that burned him allegedly, depending on which version of the origin we're doing or whatever. But maybe we've got the adults, because adults are stressed, man. They got worries. They're having nightmares. They're having sleep issues. They're having bad dreams about like their mortgage payments and shit. And then there's Freddy working at the bank saying like, "Long denied, bitch." So maybe we could play with that.
No, that's a great idea. Do you think the big lines will fly these days? Though I don't know.
I absolutely think you can. I think you do them in a very like self-referential way, in that like we know that like he knows that like he's not supposed to be saying things and he's just pushing the buttons on purpose. I think you would have to have some kind of awareness about it.
Yeah.
I think Freddy would definitely be making jokes, like Freddy would be making like Me Too jokes and, Kardashian jokes, and, when he's like slicing your butt cheek off or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like I could see him doing all of that kind of stuff. you know, if somebody's got to push the buttons, and like I say, all these other horror franchises, even these new ones that are apparently good, you know, like these Talk to Me's and these Inside Where I Live or whatever it's called. I nearly said Inside with the Kumars. That's a different thing. Number 42 with the Kumars. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think we need some fun again. You can have humor and still be scary. You know, it hasn't got to be like Insidious and in Sharknado, and those are the two, you know, ends of the spectrum. There's so many tones you can play with, and hopefully we do seem to be having a bit of a resurgence in like good quality horror lately, the last few years. I think maybe because, you know, scary shit's been happening in the real world and we can relate to this stuff a bit more now, like it or not. You know, we all know what it's like to be inches away from death and destruction. So it's fun to go to the movies, everyone. You know.
I was gonna say I beg to differ with the good horror, but now I think about it, I've seen 2 decent, like legitimately scary horror films this year, which is more that I say from, I don't know, 2010 to 2020.
Yeah, like those 2010s were really kind of not good for the horror stuff, because we kind of got into the late 2000s. Everyone's doing like a lot of CGI blood, and things kind of started to get really kind of, you know, just bland and soulless, as it were. And then you know, now that a lot of these big people are getting sick of, you know, just crazy, you know, in your face visual effects and 2-dimensional whiny teenagers or whatever, you know. So I think people are hungry. Yeah, people are hungry for more stuff, and I think the industry is finally catching on to that. And, you know, once we got all these strikes out of the way, once you do what you need to do, everyone, studios looking at you, pay the people, the writers, the actors, give them what they're worth, give them more than what they're worth, because they're worth more than you. Boom. That's it. Okay. So, but also, you know, don't fuck up Nightmare on Elm Street, because we like it and you're going to ruin my childhood. Right? So that's fine. Speaking of ruining childhoods.
Other things.
Yeah.
From our
but
childhood.
If there's 2 things that we like here, we like horror movies, and we like horror movies, but that are mostly comedy movies as well. We love the Ghostbusters around these parts at the Poproast podcast, everyone. We're all about who you're going to call. And who did I call after this week when I finally watched, after 2 years of not watching this for no personal political reasons or any weird toxic fanboy bullshit, I just didn't get around to watching Ghostbusters Afterlife. And then I did. So now I want to come in and talk about it. And who do I call? I call this guy. Right. I'll start with the positives. I will start with the positive, because you've seen this twice now, right? So this is my first time. You watched it again for this.
I did. When you mentioned it, I actually watched the original and then contrasted and compared. But yeah.
Double bubble.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the positives. I thought the tone was great. I really loved that. It definitely had that, you know, Stranger Things-y tone, but it also intersected well with like a classic Ghostbusters tone as well. It wasn't too glossy. It was still pretty, you know, still definitely a studio movie, but, you know, it wasn't as bright and technicolored and happy as maybe other versions of Ghostbusters in recent years might have been, you know, catering more to that like 12A kind of PG-13, you know, younger audiences, which is fine. You know, there's different flavors for everyone, but I love the tone of this one. It didn't just feel exactly the same tone, but it felt like an extension of the original. I thought all the actors, for the most part, apart from one who we'll get to a little bit later, I thought all put really good performances in with the script that they had. I know I'm trying to stay on positives, but the I'm dancing around this here. The effects are great. The score after the first 5 minutes was pretty great, and
5 minutes.
I love the characters, and I think that's all the positives I can muster up from my soul. George, positives, negatives, first thoughts for this.
Positives. Again, basically, I mirror everything you said there for the most part. That's the score, though. That they they bring quite a lot of cues from the original back in throughout. I noticed.
Yeah, really heavily early on, which is the one thing that I didn't like. They clearly wanted to get you in that mood and let you know that you're back in old Ghostbusters land for sure.
Overall, I did enjoy it. The more I looked at it, I was like, this is pretty much the original film set in Oklahoma. But
yes.
I don't know, there's some, interesting things they did with this character, the Evo Shandor, who supposedly built this whole little town that they'd moved to, and he apparently made the apartment building in New York from out these selenium girders, and it's all about this selenium, fucking metalloid, whatever this.
You know what's funny about the selenium? When they first mentioned the selenium, right, I thought that was totally a reference to the movie Evolution, which is also directed by Ivan Reitman. And that was the early 2000s movie with aliens. So you've probably seen this thing. Okay, well, it's pretty good. It's basically Ghostbusters but with aliens. Sort of got like a Men in Black kind of vibe to it.
Okay.
But the main spoiler alert, the weakness of the aliens turns out to be selenium, which is also an ingredient found in shampoo, apparently. So they end up using shampoo to defeat the aliens. But anyway, I digress. I thought that was totally going to be a reference, but then they tied it back into the original with the girders, because that whole building was supposed to be like a conduit for the coming of Gozer or whatever.
Gozerian, yeah. But yeah, again, it's like I said, I watched the original. That was probably a mistake, to be honest, to watch them like one after the other. But I don't know, like I can't really. I feel like nitpicky to go with that route, but there is so much fan service in there. Like
this whole film just feels like the studio writing an apology to all the toxic 40-year-old man babies that they upset with the last one, and I don't feel that way about it. I thought Answer the Call was actually fine, and actually in retrospect, after watching this one, and at least like they didn't rely on all of those. They did have a couple of the references in there, but they didn't. They did their own plot, and they the archetypes were similar, but it wasn't just gatekeeper, keymaster, two dogs, Gozer, marshmallows, rinse and repeat kind of situation, which is very much what this is. Unfortunately, by the time we get into the plot, which by the way takes more than half of the movie to really even set up any kind of storyline beyond what we get with the opening scene, which I really liked. The opening scene, it felt respectful, and I thought they did well considering not having Harold Ramis around anymore. I thought they handled all of that stuff great, both at the beginning and mostly at the end with him.
Yeah, I told you before, that did.
I have no idea. Don't know what you're talking about.
Don't know what you're talking about. Nothing happened. I'm a 36-year-old man, baby. So, did I take a young one with Answer the Call? Yes, I did. I'm not gonna hide that. I watched it in the cinema.
Oh, it's still a bad movie. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's like
but not for the
awful.
reasons that you say the fanboys, fucking state. But yeah, again, like, I think you're on the money there. They handled the, Hal Ramis, the Egon thing respectfully. But yeah, I don't know.
Some might argue a little too respectfully because they keep that ghost around at the end for way too long. It looks great and it was emotional.
They made him look a lot.
Yeah, that was a healthy looking ghost.
Yeah.
And I don't want anyone to not look healthy, but
sure.
He was a healthy looking ghost. That wasn't, he picked a fine version of himself to come back as in the physical realm. Let's just say that. And if you're a ghost and you can do that, of course you're going to do that. I'm not going to come back as I looked at the end. I'm going to come back as I looked when I looked like, good.
I would come back like all half decayed and grim.
Oh yeah, totally. Eyeball like dragging along the floor and the stem like hanging all the way down. Squelching noises.
The initial scare. I don't know.
So what we're saying, everyone, is show your true self. Be who you want to be. Don't pull any punches. The world will handle your decaying remains if that's what you want to present to the world.
That's right.
But yeah,
be yourself.
Did I say I love the cast? The script, they didn't give them very much to work with. It seemed like they was acting like they thought the dialogue was a lot snappier than it actually was. They could definitely have done with having another go over that script and punching it up a bit. I love McKenna Grace as the granddaughter. Didn't feel like she needed to have the knock jokes. Should have given those to the podcast kid because he was really funny, and I would have liked to have seen him do more different stuff as opposed to just like the same kind of goofy bit that he was doing throughout the whole movie. But I did like the actor. Finn Wolfhard was fine as the everyman kind of dude, but that plot was kind of underwritten, with the teenagers. And let's go and have a drink and get up to some rustling up of old demons or in a well or whatever it was. I thought that was all a bit paint by numbers.
Yeah. I agree. The cast for the most part, it was pretty great. The podcast kid, I say kid actors sometimes great on me, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
I thought I was going to hate him. When they introduced him, I thought this is the death of this movie for me right now. But despite it being a bit one note, I thought I was endeared to him. I didn't laugh at everything, but I liked the kid. They worked well together. Both in the sense of the narrative and also with the chemistry with the main group of actors there, which brings us to a man we haven't mentioned yet. Everyone loves this man. He hasn't aged a day since Clueless, and he's the most seasoned comedic actor in this whole thing, and that's Paul Rudd. What are we doing?
Paul Rudd,
he's just an analog for the fanboy, right? That's all he is. He's just there to represent you or me or anyone who we're trying to sell this movie to, and it just flies in the face of logic. Everything about this character is just servicing the idea of Ghostbusters before it's making a real character. This dude is problematic, George. Would you agree?
I would agree. I mean, his fucking character's name is Gary Gruberson, and it seems
terrible.
Like it was made literally for that one scene where the daughter, her mum says, "I'm going for dinner with Gary," and she's like, "Gary?" She's like, "Mr. Gruberson. His name is Gary Gruberson."
It's not that funny a joke, and it just they literally just pull it in there just because we're going to make him have a funny name because why not? Because
Maybe
I
there
tell
is
you why they
something.
had to give him a funny name, because he's not funny in this movie. That's why you give him a funny name.
I
Not only is he,
genuinely like Paul Rudd. I think he's all right.
I love Paul Rudd. We all love Paul Rudd.
Not so much in this.
Like, if you wanted to like emulate character traits that people know and love from the original movie, maybe let's not be a sex pest. You know what I mean? This dude's a teacher at a school, and after one day at this school, for the kids at this new school, he befriends them. Then he finds out they're connected to the Ghostbusters, and he decides I'm just going to take these kids home off my own back, because I saw their mum in the corridor. She was pretty hot. They love the Ghostbusters. I'm a fanboy of the Ghostbusters because I watched them on YouTube one time. So I'm going to take these kids home. I'm going to hang out with them. We're going to release ghosts and not do anything about it for 40 minutes of the movie.
Why the fuck would you open the trap?
It's called a ghost trap. Trap. You do not open. If it was a bear trap and there was an angry bear in the bear trap, would you let the bear out so that you had to run away? Well, admittedly, the bear, it's not going to chase you in this analogy. It's not working. All right. I didn't think it through. All right. That's fine. But it's a trap. The thing that was trapped needs to stay trapped, unless you're like wrongfully imprisoned. But it's a ghost. It's not wrongfully imprisoned. This thing is dangerous. It's a big fucking fiery, flary ghost demon that comes flying out of that thing, and they're just like, anyway, let's go for dinner.
Pretty much.
These are supposed to be smart people. Come on, what is going on? And then after that point, we just go straight into Gatekeeper, Keymaster, two big dogs, and the marshmallows, and it's just, we're on the Ghostbusters roller coaster ride now.
Yeah.
I did love seeing Aykroyd. I thought that scene was great. I know Aykroyd's kind of got a bit of a kooky reputation these days, but I really thought he was cool in that phone scene. Even the prison guards like, who you gonna call? Didn't hate that as much as I thought I would.
Oh, by the way, did you recognize that guy?
Is he? He's somebody from the movie, right?
He's not.
He's not from the.
As far as I know.
Okay, who is it?
It's Bokeem Woodbine, and he was Black Hand Jack in Black Dynamite.
Oh wow!
I have that like the board meeting of pimps and players or whatever, and he's like,
he's
like, hell no, I can't dig it.
That's a great movie. Oh man,
yeah.
I'd love to do an episode. If we can find a reason to talk about that movie, we will do that at some point. They're supposed to be making another one, so maybe we'll get the chance.
Sequel, yeah, but like a Western.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope so.
Yeah.
But back to Ghostbusters.
But yeah, Razor Colt.
Yeah, Razor Colt, fantastic. I love that the phone number linked back to there. He's still working there. I really felt the emotion from him. And then my one issue is that beyond that, as much as I don't want to overuse any cameos, I feel like we should have had a bit more with the other two OGs before we kind of just bring them in out of absolutely fucking nowhere at the end, because we as viewers know they're going to be in this, because of course they're going to do that. It's a Ghostbusters continuation. You're going to put the OG actors in there, in this version anyway, because it's in the same universe. So we know we're going to get it. But so the surprise isn't really as impactful as you want it to be. And from a narrative perspective, it just, and just from a story angle, it just would have been nice to have touched base with them once in the movie. So it's not just like, a given that they just turn up at the end out of nowhere. I would have liked to have seen them have a little bit more sprinkled in there, but that's fine.
Janine,
maybe not so much Murray, but maybe just one scene with Winston and Ray talking on the phone, just to sell it up, so that we, it feels like a payoff to this movie as much as it feels like a payoff to another movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's fine.
They needed that element of surprise because nobody knew that they were all
Right.
For the film. But
Absolutely. And just when you thought we couldn't get any more cameos in there, we get a post-credit scene, which it wasn't as funny as it thought it was. And don't get me wrong, that scene with Venkman is one of my all-time favorite movie scenes of all time. That random character actor guy, I'm getting tired of this. And and if you look really closely, and like the gum flies out his mouth and everything when he gets shocked. I love that scene. I love Sigourney Weaver, but it just felt like it was like an SNL sketch there at the end. It didn't feel like it felt like it was like a promo like skit or something for the movie. It didn't feel like a real scene from a movie. But on the plus side, we're heading back to New York. I'm guessing everyone just up sticks and moves to New York because Winston's going to buy the firehouse back from Starbucks.
Yeah, because he did well in finance apparently.
Yeah, again, we hear that one throwaway line that he did something, but we don't get anything there. And this movie had so much extraneous, just like meandering in the first act, where we didn't really go anywhere, and the dialogue wasn't enough to like keep me engaged. I'm just waiting for the plot to kick in. We could have had some extra stuff sprinkled in as opposed to just, the Stranger Things kid, scrubbing ovens or whatever it was. All of that stuff just didn't feel necessary at all. Overall, this was fine. I didn't hate this. If you're going for just like a Ghostbusters, shot to the system and have some fun, hearing some things that you recognize, seeing some things they recognize, and it's serviceable. I hope they do better for the next one. But anyway, that's our review, everyone, of Ghostbusters Afterlife, 2 years after its life. So we were late to the draw on that. But there's not a lot going on because they won't release Dracula on a boat for us. So we thought, fuck it. We're going to talk about what we like, not what you like, and not what distributors apparently don't like for some reason.
That's right.
And other than that, I think that's about everything.
Yeah.
Is that the show, George?
That's pretty much it. I was going to bring up Street Trash, but we'll save it for next time.
Street trash. That's the completely different thing, isn't it? That's fine.
Yeah.
He was
totally
go on.
Forgot to even mention Jason Reitman, but whatever. Here's a nice wholesome picture for you.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Carrie Coon was kind of wasted in this movie. She's a great actress. Loved her in Fargo. She's been in some other fun stuff. Normally like good character roles, but she didn't have much to work with. And you thought bouncing off a Paul Rudd would be enough, but lo and behold, it was, shall we say, rudderless. Anyway, there you go. Just off the dome.
Terrible.
Ruddy, awful. And on that note, because we're not going to sit around here and try and think of something good to end on. You end on something good on a positive note. Click those like buttons, click those subscribe buttons, follow us on your Instagrams and your Twitters and your Facebooks, and we're Poproast Podcast everywhere. I'm Dean Lee Live on all of those places. George, go and check out George's band. We didn't even talk about George's band, everyone. I'm skateboarding. He's fucking shredding up places like you wouldn't believe. Mechromorph. You want to quickly plug that?
Mechromorph.uk or just Mechromorph. It's MECH, because everyone forgets the H. ROMORPH. If you're into
there you go. If you like your shit good and you like your shit brutal and you've got the fucking strength of character to handle it, go and check that. Even if you haven't, just go and follow them anyway. Have it playing on in the background when you're making love, because this stuff is groovy and you will not regret it. Okay, that's everything.
Yep.
That is everything.
That's pretty
So
much
we'll
it.
see everyone next week. And we're not sure what we're going to talk about. If you've got anything that you'd like to hear us talk about, drop it in a comment, tweet it at us. You know, you know where to get us. We just told you. Keep up. See everyone next time. Peace.
Peace.